A single shipwreck in 1795 nearly toppled the young American government, and it was over pepper. Not a military invasion, not a political scandal. Pepper. By the 1790s, this ordinary kitchen spice had become the most valuable commodity in global trade. A handful of peppercorns weighed in gold. And when supply lines fractured, the entire economic foundation of the United States began to crack. Here's the core claim. The Great Pepper Shortage of 1795 wasn't just a supply problem. It was a geopolitical earthquake that exposed how fragile the American economy actually was. Let me walk through the evidence. Exhibit 1, the price spike itself. In 1794, pepper cost around 12 cents per pound. By early 1795, it had jumped to 45 cents. That's a 275% increase in months. For context, the average American laborer earned about $1 a day. Pepper went from a luxury seasoning to something completely out of reach for ordinary families. Why did pepper cost so much in the first place? Because it came from one place, the Malabar coast of India, specifically the tiny region around what's now Kerala. The journey took 6 months by ship around Africa. Pirates, storms, and disease killed sailors regularly. Whoever controlled that route controlled global wealth. For most of the 1700s, the Dutch and Portuguese monopolized the spice trade. But by the 1790s, American merchants, particularly from Salem, Massachusetts, had started breaking in. They built faster ships, found new routes, and undercut European prices. It was working. American merchants were getting rich. Then, in 1795, the Dutch East India Company, desperate to reclaim market share, did something ruthless. They deliberately destroyed pepper plantations in the Malabar region to reduce supply and jack up prices globally. It was economic sabotage disguised as scarcity. Exhibit 2, what happened in American cities. Prices for pepper exploded, yes, but so did prices for everything else. Grocers raised the cost of their entire inventory. Landlords raised rents. Wages didn't keep up. Ordinary people couldn't afford dinner. This wasn't just about pepper anymore. It was inflation, and it was spreading. In Philadelphia, the nation's capital, political leaders panicked. The government was less than a decade old. Trust in the new republic was fragile. If people couldn't feed their families, they'd lose faith in the system entirely. One commodity shortage threatened the legitimacy of the entire nation. Exhibit 3, the trade wars that followed. Congress didn't have many tools. They couldn't manufacture pepper domestically. They couldn't negotiate with a monopoly controlled by a foreign power. So they did what young nations do. They raised tariffs on Dutch goods and started hunting for alternative suppliers. This is where the story gets interesting. American merchants already in India started expanding to places the Europeans hadn't touched yet. They sailed to the East Indies, the Spice Islands, even as far as China. They were desperate to find pepper or anything else valuable enough to replace it. Exhibit 4, the long-term shift in power. By 1800, the American merchant class had established direct trading relationships that bypassed European middlemen entirely. They weren't just buying pepper anymore. They were buying silk, tea, spices, and exotic goods directly from Asia. The pepper shortage forced them to build a new trading empire. Salem became one of the wealthiest ports in America. The merchant families who took risks during the pepper crisis became dynasties. Their wealth funded banks, industries, and eventually, entire political movements. A spice shortage in 1795 reshaped American capitalism. But here's what's really worth understanding. This wasn't unique to pepper. Centuries before, the spice trade had driven exploration, colonization, and war. After pepper, it was sugar, then cotton, then oil. Single commodities controlled by geography or monopoly repeatedly became choke points that reshaped entire economies. The pepper shortage revealed something the young American government had to learn the hard way. Supply chains matter. Vulnerability in one product can trigger cascading inflation, political instability, and economic restructuring. That lesson echoes today. So here's why the pepper shortage of 1795 matters to you. It's a case study in how fragile global supply systems are, and how a single disruption, whether from sabotage, weather, or monopoly control, can ripple through an entire economy and change the course of history. That's not ancient history. That's how the world still works. The Great Pepper Shortage of 1795 wasn't just about seasoning. It was about power, scarcity, and the fragile networks that hold modern economies together. A single commodity exposed the United States' economic dependence, forced merchants to innovate, and ultimately helped build the trading infrastructure that would define American commerce for centuries. That's established fact. One spice, one shortage, one moment, and the economic landscape of a nation was fundamentally redrawn. Understanding why things cost what they do means understanding these hidden supply chains, monopolies, and disruptions that still shape prices today. This video is for educational and informational purposes only and is not financial advice. Always do your own research. Subscribe to uncover more hidden economic forces that shaped industries, prices, and history. There's a new supply chain story every week. This video is for educational and informational purposes only and is not financial advice. Always do your own research.